Hello and welcome to codeandpractice.com. In this video we will begin our journey of programming. So essentially, all programming is nothing but data manipulation. You feed data into a computer and then it processes it and gives you an output. When you write a program, you define exactly what processing is to be applied. To begin with, and keep things simple, download the source code provided with this video and open it up. It should look something like this. This is the skeleton code. Right now, all you need to worry about is what you are going to write within these two brackets. Consider this file as a container for your code. As I mentioned earlier, we will be manipulating data in our programs. And if we are going to do that, we need some way of representing and accessing that data. And the data that we can manipulate in Java has been divided into sections known as data types. Each represents a different type of data. Also, data types themselves are categorized into two parts. One that comes standard with the language and the one that you define. But right now, we are only interested in what comes standard with the language. These are known as primitive data types. Before we get to storing and manipulating data, we need to know one more thing, and that is variables. In mathematics, we have all seen the questions of linear algebra in which, for example, you had some apples to begin with and you gave away 5 apples and you were left with 5 apples, and the question was to find out how many total apples were there. If you try to remember how you were to solve this question, you assume that you originally had x apples. Well, the x in this case is the unknown value that we must find out. Similarly, in programming, we also have variables which are used to represent the concept of unknown values. And data types can be thought of as containers for data, and variables can be thought of as the label we put on those containers. So, for example, how do we define a container in Java and give it a label? Although there are 8 primitive data types, for now let's just take one container or data type and use that. Let us take the int data type. It can store really big numbers. So how do we tell the compiler that we wish to do some manipulation with the data and we require a container with an int label? Well, we say this: int x and then a semicolon. In the above statement, the compiler creates a container or a data type that can store any value between negative 2147483648 to positive this value. Now this is the range of this particular data type. It cannot store anything greater or less than these two numbers. So it cannot store anything less than this number and cannot store anything greater than this number. We'll get into why it is so in a later video, but right now we just need to know that this is how we define or declare an integer variable. And now at the end we have a semicolon. That's just the full stop in Java. Every statement in Java is followed by a semicolon. So now we have our container. Let's put something in it. Let's put the value 100 inside it. And to do that, we use the following statement: x is equal to 100, and then again a semicolon at the end. Now this should look familiar because in elementary algebra we used to do this, and it used to represent that x has the value 100. Well, similarly in programming as well. Now after this line is read and executed by the Java virtual machine, x will contain the value of 100. Now let's check this fact by printing out the value on the screen. To do that, we write system.out.println and then two brackets and then the x inside it. Now this x is the same x that we have used over here, and it will print out the value whatever is kept inside x over here, and of course the semicolon at the end. We save this file, and now let's run this program. So I'm in the Java dev directory right now, and let me open up the compiler. Java C, and then the name of the file, main.java, and it has compiled successfully. Now let's run this file. Now remember that this source file, the main.java, has been compiled into something called a class file, and as you can see that now we have a class file over here called main.class. To run this, write java main and press enter, and as you can see that the value 100 gets printed on the screen. To recap, we created the int container with the label x, or you can say that we declared x. By declare we mean that we have told the compiler that we want a int container with the name x. Then we stored the value inside it, or initialized x as programmers speak, and then we printed or retrieved the value of x and we printed it on the screen. Now that you know how to store and retrieve int values, your assignment is to do the above for all other data types. Please download the assignment file from the codeinpractice.com website. If you encounter some errors, that's fine. The solutions will be provided to you, so you can check where you went wrong. One more point that I wish to discuss before I end this video is that when we are learning programming, we get a lot of errors and a lot of bugs in our code, and that is a good thing. So make lots of errors, and each error will educate you in more ways than one. If you remember the first time you began to drive a car or ride a cycle, you were making a lot of mistakes, and but you got better at it because you made those mistakes, and those mistakes taught you what not to do. So don't be afraid of making errors, and let me just show you an error right now. Let me omit this semicolon at the end, and let me just save this file, and let's try to recompile this file. And as you can see, the compiler tells me that I have an error, and what the error is that it expected a semicolon at the end of this statement. Now that's a very straightforward error. To fix this, all we need to do is put the semicolon back, save the file, and then recompile it, and the compiler will be happy. Now some errors are easy as this to correct, but some others are way more complicated, and you need to debug them all by yourselves if you wish to gain valuable programming experience.